Buenas tardes y saludos a todos. Josh Tovar, Province of Love, Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland ISD. Garland, USA, ready for the PGP podcast here on Sunday. Hey, let me tell you, it's been it's been one of the best weekends for me, and it's been one of the most horrible weekends for me. It's been awesome, but you know what? The great thing about going to conferences is that you pick up some knowledge. And Jeff Gordon talked about talking to yourself, okay? Don't listen because the brain puts out like 45,000 negative thoughts per day. I read an article with our team members about that. So you got to talk to yourself. Don't listen to the negativity. But we're able to survive because I was looking forward today to our first assistant principals round table. What have you been doing, Mari?
Oh my God, Josh. You know what? I just got back from the Rio Grande Valley, South Texas, RGV town 956. Just got back of doing some amazing PD with the construction company called Noble Construction. Had the most fabulous time. Oh my God. It was a wonderful time to be around it was non-educators that I was training, which was great because guess what? I realized we all need PD. We all need leadership skills. We all need to support our employees. And so you know what? I learned a lot this week, and I just transferred what I know from education. And how do you transfer that to other professions? Just like you said, we're the profession that makes our professions. Man, did I see that happen this week.
What did you do? Let the people know out there. Just so you all know, we can't assume that everybody knows us. But Dr. Moreno was a principal for EB campus in Texas. So now she has her own company providing professional development for campuses about supporting EB students. But now she went out of her niche. And so what did you do with this corporate or this corporation or this business?
So Noble Construction is an it's a construction company, and they build all of the HEBs, they build all of the Sonics, lots of hospitals and a lot of retail and business infrastructure, hospitals and whatnot. So this organization reached out to Dr. E.T. and Dr. E.T. contacted me. So anyways, we did some PD together, and we did the 7 steps of highly effective people. We did e-colors with them to kind of learn a little bit about, what are their strengths and how do they support their employees. It was an amazing opportunity, not only for us, but for them. And they learned a lot. So now we're going to expand and kind of help with their other teams as well. So it was a true blessing, to be honest, of how I was able to transfer my knowledge around education and then provide them with the support around leadership development in their organization. So it was fantastic. I had a great time, and I can't wait to do it again.
Good. And that's an avenue for educators out there that once you do reach a rule of 80, rule of 90, whatever it is, there is something outside of there. And thank you for dropping that knowledge, because people do want to know, what am I going to do after I get to that age? That magic number, whatever you feel that magic number is. But you know what? That's why we have these roundtables. We've had a superintendent roundtable from around the United States. We've had principals roundtables. Now we're going to have an assistant principal roundtable. And without further ado, our awesome and great assistant principals are joining us. Let me bring them on board right now. Let me bring them on board. We're almost there. We're waiting on Danny. Hopefully he comes in right now. Hey, everybody. How are you doing? Thank you for being here today. We got New Jersey in the house. We've got Texas in the house. And you know what? Ultimately, I want you guys, and the format is a little bit different today because you know what? Stuff happens in life. We just got to come up with plan D and C and F, whatever. And so I'll be asking all the questions, and in between there, Dr. Moreno will jump in and just any kind of follow-ups that need to go through it. But you know what? Let's go around. You take it starting off there with Michael. Please introduce yourself. Let them know what jobs you've held in education, and out of those, which one was your favorite one and why? Michael.
Man, I don't know if we have enough time for me to list all the jobs I've held. So my name is Michael Gonzalez. I live in San Antonio. It's my 10th year in education. This is my 4th as an assistant principal. Prior to becoming principal, I taught middle school PE. high school PE, high school health, freshman orientation, world history, U.S. history. I was a GT coordinator. I was an Edgenuity coordinator, and that's about it. That's about it. I listed them all, along with coaching basketball, football, cross country, and softball. There you go.
Which one was your favorite?
Your favorite?
So right now, I think I'm enjoying my assistant principal role the most. Right, like being a coach, fantastic. Being a head basketball coach, being a head cross country coach, those are all enjoyable moments. But right now, scope is larger, get to influence more people, make more relationships, get to really see everything that goes into school. So really enjoying that part.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Michael. Appreciate you being here on the show today. Sahar, I met this young lady. She met me. I was looking my rattiest ever. We were doing some kind of, what was it? The bond?
You were
Some
fine.
bond election?
Yes.
It was a bond election, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, "Oh, you're Josh," and I go, "Yeah, I see you on the shows." And since then, I go, "Hey, well, come on board. We need you to have here, especially with." You see that smile right there? That's her personality right there. Please introduce yourself to everybody. Let them know about what roles you served in education and which one's been your favorite.
So I'm Sahar Augustine, and I'm currently the assistant principal at Sugared Elementary here in Garland. And so I served as an educator. So I've been a teacher, and then I moved into instructional coaching, and now I am an assistant principal. I have only ever done elementary because that's my people. Those are my people. But I would say that I think this role as an assistant principal, just the outreach I get to touch like the community, the kids, still be on campus, and then also pour into my teachers and the staff and help grow other leaders like so many people have done for me. So I think the outreach and the impact that you have is larger to a certain extent. But yes, I just enjoy it. I think every day is different and it's fun. So that's like my why is really just the kids that I get to impact.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Doc in New Jersey in the house. Talk to us.
So I'm actually a career changer. So I've been in education for 10 years. I worked in other industries before that in various capacities as an educator. I've held various roles teaching, starting with I started business as a business teacher. I taught Word, Excel, keyboarding, all that stuff. Then there was a need this was middle school. There was a need for us to bring computer science to the district. So I was the first computer science teacher in our district. We started a project, Lead the Way. And then from there, I was one of the founding members of our new science academy that we started here, also teaching middle school. Then towards the end of that stint, there was a need for a high school teacher. So I moved over to the high school. I taught cybersecurity in addition to computer programming. After 6 years of being in the classroom, I moved over to an assistant principal, and that's where I am right now. I'm an assistant principal at the high school where I graduated from. So I guess my first role, which I didn't mention, was student, right? And then I think my most enjoyable has been high school assistant principal, because I've got to see the kids grow all 4 years. I've got to work with them, especially some of the ones who've had a little bit more challenges personally, and seeing them grow and overcome some of these challenges. And I think that's been the most rewarding. I love being in the classroom, but I impact so much more outside the classroom as assistant principal. So that's why I enjoy it more.
Thank you, Doc, for sharing. Thank you. Hey, George Valenzuela in the house. You all need to follow that cat right there. National speaker, just author with Solution Tree. Thank you for being here, brother.
Awesome.
Looking forward to seeing you in November. Danny, you there? Danny's having some technical difficulties. That's fine. Danny, let us know when you're ready to go. All right, guys, let's start off with Sahar. Let's go with this. Who inspired you to be an educator? Let me know who planted that seed in your brain to say, come on into this beautiful profession.
So who planted the seed? I actually never wanted to be an educator, so I was one of those people. I guess I come from a family of educators, but I was like, that's definitely not me. We're not doing that. Until I failed one of the intro to biology classes in college. And so then I kind of changed my career path from like psychology to they had me in a class that made me like go and observe just a campus of like 3-year-olds, and it was childhood psychology, which really got me like fueled into seeing just like how the brain works and how kids work. I've always loved working with kids, but I never really wanted to teach them anything. But from that course is where I just fell in love with the classroom and the kids there. And so that's kind of from my failure is what led me into being an educator. I initially didn't want to because my mom is a teacher, and I was like, that's not my lane. I don't want to do it. But I think I was just denying my purpose the whole time, which I eventually, it led me back to like my why, which was like not being able to read in English, and then to be going back to college specifically, learning how to teach kids how to read and literacy in general. Kids that are newcomers or new to America became like the passion, and that's kind of why.
That is
Beautiful.
so awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Michael.
So we got very similar stories here, and I can connect with Dr. Moreno and Sahar. So really, it's from my parents. My mom was a ESL teacher her whole life, and so as a little kid, I would see teachers or parents. They'd come to the house, they'd drop off casseroles, drop off things. They were so appreciative of my mom helping them out in their transition, mostly from Mexico to San Antonio, and so that kind of stood out. But also my dad was my head basketball coach, and I see my dad go to work in shorts and a t-shirt. And as a 7-year-old little boy, I was like, man, what kind of job is better than work in shorts and a t-shirt? So from a kid, I thought that I'd follow my dad's footsteps. I'd be a head basketball coach. I'd move into the athletic office. And so it has been something that I've wanted to do since a kid. And the assistant principal rolled on my lap. God had a different plan for me, and I felt like it was time. It offered me a bit more freedom as my kids started to get older. And so position opened up, and I fell right in with the AP job. But really, my parents inspired me to be an educator.
Thank you for sharing that. Dot McKeever Jeever, part of the Fantastic Four fan club. Thank you for being here, Dot. She was on episode number 1 of the PGP podcast. Thank you for being here. Doc, who's also part of the Fantastic Four fan club right there. Doc is always part of that Saturday club. Talk to us, Doc Garcia.
So I've always had an admiration for teachers. I grew up, my mother was 16 when she had me, and there was a lot of teachers along the way who helped her in various capacities. One teacher in particular was my first and second grade teacher, Miss Kistner. She was there both times. And there was at times where my mom went through stuff and she invited over to her house. How many teachers invite their students to their house? Mm-hmm. So that connection has always had, instilled an admiration for me. As I got older, I thought I wanted to be a teacher, and then things happened along the way and I didn't. I started working in retail, and then I moved over to tech. And then I had a couple people invite me to come speak to students for Career Week, to speak to the ROTC and alumni, because I was an alumni of ROTC. And Miss Shirley Romero, who's an assistant principal right now at the high school that I work with, she invited me, and just talking to the kids and seeing how they were a lot like me, and I was thinking about who I needed when I was them. And that's what kind of that was the water on the seed that was buried there for the longest. And that's what got me into education.
Beautiful. Love it.
Daniel, can you talk now? Can you hear us? Maybe.
Can you guys hear me?
Perfect.
Yes.
Hey, Danny, let us know who inspired you to be an educator, brother.
We can't hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I didn't go the traditional route of going through education. I actually wanted to go into law enforcement and corrections. And as I was working at the juvenile probation department, I would help the students, or the kids that were there, the juveniles, with their assignments for their school. And the kids actually gave me kudos, and they're like, "Hey, you know what? You're pretty good at teaching us how to do these problems, how to work through these problems. Why don't you think about being a teacher?" So they kind of actually inspired me to start looking into the field of education, and I went through the alternative certification route, and I became an educator. And I think it served me well because I have experiences outside of education. So sometimes when things come up, in the job, I feel I have a different lens sometimes when I look at things that we have to navigate in our field.
Daniel, that's so much like my story, right? I mean, I also did a lot of, I came in through alternative certification. Doc Garcia, I was a CTE teacher teaching Word and Excel and PowerPoint. I was teaching computer science. So, oh my God, when you were talking about those things, I was like, oh my God, that's my story. So I am so excited to have our first assistant principal roundtable today, because that, I'm going to tell you that was, after being a principal for 20 years, I was an assistant principal for 10. So this was one of my favorites, right? Being assistant principal, because you do a lot of the work, right? You want to make your principal, excited and proud. And so you're doing a lot of the groundwork, helping teachers and parents and students. But I think it's important for the audience to know a little bit about how you were as a child, right? How was it? How were you growing up as a I don't know, elementary, middle, high school, whatever level you want to talk about? Because sometimes we have to deal with those behaviors in our schools, right? As an assistant principal. So I don't know. I know when I look back and I reflect on myself, I wasn't one of those great children sometimes, So how were you? Let's start off with Michael.
So being the son of two educators, they had me pretty straight and narrow. I think the story that I do want to share, and it speaks to connection, is, so I mentioned earlier my dad. And so from high school, I went to a different junior high and I went to a different elementary. And so my first experience going to the high school was as a freshman, and being able to play basketball for my dad. It automatically got the only reason you're playing is because of your dad. And so that was my first hit with negativity and people not accepting me. And it was really one teacher was our class sponsor who I was able to connect with and kind of share all these things that I was going through, and and she kind of helped move me along. But I guess I'd try to get, I was getting angry and I was starting to fight back. And so both my dad and the teacher had to take a step back, tell me this is not the right way. This is not you. These are the reason they're saying it. You got to be a little thick skinned. So that experience, I think, is helping me more now, even though I still struggle with people saying negative about you. It's tough because we're human, we're people, and we want to be accepted, and we want to be, I think, going through that route as a freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior has helped all right now to know that, man, it's words. And the only thing that I can do is look in the mirror and make sure I'm doing my very, 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 very best for my students, my teachers, and my community. And answer yes, then I need to keep on moving forward.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Michael. Sahar, how were you as a student?
Oh my goodness. Not a good student by any means. I might be shocking now when I tell people, but I think it was more like the linguistic barrier that I had. So at school, I wouldn't talk much. That wasn't the problem. It was more when I got home. But yes, disobedient, not listening well. And I think that is probably why I'm doing the work that I'm doing now, because I've had to build up a lot of patience for the kids that I work with, and realizing that a lot of times, most of the kids that I see, I'll see kids for good reasons, but sometimes I'm seeing kids or parents on their not so good day. So just extending grace and knowing that, I'm teaching the kids how to behave in a school setting. And many times I'm one of the first educators in their lives. So I have to approach it with grace, but also have high expectations.
Yeah.
And teach them how to be at school. And I think that that's something that I had to learn, because that was not the norm. Like, just schooling in general from a different country to being in America is different. So you do try to push boundaries and try to see where you can get away with things. So I think just relearning how to behave in different settings, and making sure that I'm cognizant of that now that I'm, in a role where I can influence kids and be that person on their bad day, like give them grace to try again the next day.
Awesome. And then you have the babies, right? So you have to be extremely patient.
Yeah.
It's so fun. So fun.
Just real quick, Dr. Moreno, quick shout out to the opening hitter of the Fantastic Four, Sean Hurt, in the house. Thank you for being here. And El Profe, Sherrard Laws, is here. Thank you for being here, part of the show. Thank you for joining us. Again, part of the Fantastic Four family. Doc Garcia.
Welcome, you guys. Daniel, can you hear us? Or are you out?
I think I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes. So how were you as a child, as a high school, middle, elementary? How were you as a student?
Well, at times I wasn't the most well-behaved student in the class, and I know I had teachers and assistant principals take me under their wing, kind of talk to me and mentor me and tell me, you know what, you're better than that. There's a lot of potential there. You shouldn't be getting into trouble. And working with them, I got back on the right track and kind of cleaned up my act, getting out of middle school. So going into high school, I was in sports, and I attribute a lot of that to them, their mentorship, because they really they spoke to me, and then they showed me a path that I could go down, and that set me on the correct course, and then, here I am later, and that's why I like working at the setting where I work at the alternative campus. These kids that are at risk, because they need that mentorship.
We lost you. There you go.
They need that mentorship, and I kind of want to pay that forward what I received growing up in middle school and high school from those teachers and those educators.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And did you just say that you work at the alternative campus?
Yes, I work at the DAEP for our district.
Oh, interesting. I'm going to ask you some follow-up questions on that in just a minute. Doc Garcia.
So I was all over the place as a kid. When I was in elementary school, I was the good kid. I got good grades, and I did everything I was supposed to and I was told to do. When I got to middle school, I was bullied, so I went through that aspect. So when I got to high school, I was a little bit different. I didn't do everything that I was supposed to because I didn't want to be the smart kid that always got bullied. I kind of went off a little bit. I didn't get the best grades. I found ROTC and marching band, so that helped me. That actually put a lot of leadership into me, and that's what kind of turned me around and got me across the finish line. And then a lot of wonderful teachers. But just a quick story. I'm the one kid who the teacher goes, well, I sent letters home, and the mom's like, I never received a letter. What are you talking about? And then my teacher says, well, they're signed. I have them right here. Pulls them out, and it's signed letters from my mom that she never signed because I was that kid. And then, so this was high school, by the way. So my mom comes the next time with a stack of envelopes with stamps, and it was addressed, and it said, next time you send it home through the mail, I have the only key now. So, and funny enough, that teacher was my math teacher, and she works with me now at the high school. I actually was overseeing that department in math. So it's a story I tell her students all the time. When I go to the classroom, I'm like, we all have that story, but what you take away from there is, what you do.
It's so fun. Thank you for sharing that story. And it's so amazing that you get to work with her now, right?
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's a little weird because she was my teacher. Now I'm her boss, but it's fun. I enjoy it. She likes to rag on me sometimes because of it.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Hey guys, part of the purpose of those questions at the very beginning is that people know you, but most importantly, we all understand it's hard to fill our vacancies, correct? I only have one, but I still have a vacancy right now, and we know that there's a big exodus in our field. There's a big hole trying to fill up all these spots all over. So we need to tell everybody out there that there is no specific role model or way of becoming an educator. The number one thing that I feel that you need is that passion, that ese corazón, to make sure that you connect with kids. And after that, everything else can be taught. So the reason we present this out there in the last so many podcasts that we've had is to make sure that you are part of this. It doesn't matter where you started. It's how you connect with those kids and become nation builders.
Yeah.
So my question to you is this. It's twofold, guys. Danny, starting off with you, brother. Turn on that cell phone. I know you're very handsome and you don't want to show it to everybody, but come on, bro. Just so y'all know, me and Danny worked together for a couple of years together. So, Danny, please tell everybody out there, how was your first year of teaching? How was your first year of teaching? And part two, what made you become an administrator? Why did you want the chair?
Can't hear you. Raise the volume.
How about now?
Ándale.
I was just trying to learn everything that I had to, but
You're going in and out.
Can you come back to me?
Yeah, we'll come back to you. Sahar.
My first year as an educator, I can say I was trying my best to do what I knew would be best for my kids. But looking back, I do feel bad for my first group of kids because now I know so much more. So there's always a regret that, you know, you could have been like a better teacher with the more knowledge that you have. But ultimately, like you said, just like my heart was for the kids, and I knew like I just have to be competent in the work, but also compassionate, making sure that the compassion piece is there for my kids and making sure that I'm the best educator that's in front of them because I have a year to grow them. So that responsibility is always over my shoulders, is making sure like the growth is happening. So I think that I wasn't like the best teacher in my eyes that I wanted to be. So I knew that like, no matter what, I just have to grow. So I relied a lot on my coaches and co-teachers around me because I just knew that, you know, in education, like there's not always like a PD or something that you won't always know what you need to grow in because there's just so much knowledge around you that you're trying to soak it all in. But I can say that I'm willing to learn and just like hungry for anyone and anything that could help me grow. So a lot of feedback and being open to ideas. And then your other question was about why did I want to be an assistant principal? I think that the position found me. I never thought of myself as being anything outside of the classroom. I always just thought of myself as a lifelong teacher. But it naturally just happened to be like just God had positioned people in my life to where I eventually came into this role. And then when I got here, I kind of figured out why all those years in the past really led up to me being in this position. I, of course, welcomed it because I knew the influence and the responsibility that it has. So I just, I think that that's kind of what it ultimately led up to being, you know, all my experiences led me to be here and just grow other people and pour to the kids in the community around me.
Thank you for sharing. That was very nice. Thank you. That was very nice.
You're welcome.
Daniel.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. So my first year, it was kind of difficult because I didn't really have a mentor. I was just thrown in there. I was teaching 3 different grade levels, and they said, "Good luck. We'll see you at the end of the year." Pretty much. I did have some teachers that reached out to me that were more experienced, and they helped me out through that first year. And as far as getting into administration, when you're a teacher, you kind of have tunnel vision, and I don't say that in a bad way because you're just worried about your classroom. But as an administrator, obviously, you're going to see the big picture. You're going to see all facets of the school and how it should operate. So I was excited about becoming an administrator because I thought, you know what, I want to impact the school in a positive way, but on a bigger scale.
Hey, Daniel, did you start off in a DAEP as an AP? That was
No.
your first AP job?
Oh, no. My first AP job was at a high school.
Okay. Okay.
And but I would be remiss if I don't say, Jefe, safe travels. Principal Cafele, the granddaddy's right here, but he's taking off somewhere in America. So wishing him safe travels, like Doc McKeever stated. Doc Garcia, talk to us.
So for me, when I finally got the position, I did tons of reading. I spent hours and hours of reading, looking up on stuff online, asking people, and I got a lot of good advice, but I also got a lot of bad advice. So like I remember reading the Don't Smile Till October or Don't November, whatever it is, and those kinds of things. So I went in there thinking that I knew everything that I wanted to do, but the kids taught me really quick that it's not what I wanted to do. I needed to involve them. I needed to include them. Once I started connecting with them and realizing what they needed, I reflected on what I needed, and that's when I kind of got into it. So in the beginning, it was a little rough, but towards the end of my first year, I would say I learned a lot, and a lot of that stuff has carried me through up until now too. As far as being an AP, what pushed me to administration was actually another teacher. I was teaching enrichment on Saturdays, and another teacher said to me, "You know what? You actually would make a good administrator." And up until that point, I didn't think about it. It was just having fun teaching. I was teaching computer science. I was helping kids make apps. So it was a fun time for me. I loved it. And then, in conversation with her, she was like, "You can reach more kids if you do that." And that's what kind of pushed me in that direction.
Awesome. Thank you, Doc. Thank you very much. And it's all, are you all hearing this? It's that outside little voice that pushes us ahead. It's that beautiful thing out there. And Michael, go ahead, and I'd like to add something after this. Michael, go ahead. Talk to us.
So I just kind of want to say, like, the good conversation. And so with our new teachers, I think that those who felt like they had that positive mentorship, they tend to stay in the profession longer. That was the case with myself. As I came in as an elementary PE teacher, and there was another elementary PE teacher. And so there's two of us in the same gym. And so I got to see live, what is he doing, and then follow them along. So I didn't just get to a class and say, here it is, go enjoy. Like, I always had somebody that was right next to me. Question 2, am I doing this the right way? How do I handle this situation? And then I think what helped me when I got into the classroom, now that I'm reflecting on it, is during that time as an elementary PE teacher, like every day we'd have to go into a teacher 30-minute intervention time. And so the teacher would kind of leave me like a little bit of a lesson, like, this is what you're doing. And so I got like little doses of being in an actual classroom with another teacher there. But then if things got hot, the teacher was right there. I'd ask them a question, see how they handled it. And so I got to learn by watching instead of just learning by doing, like most people do. Assistant principal job, I got my master's. I thought that I was going to use it to be in athletic administration. Driving down to the beach, and I get a call from my principal. We got an assistant principal job. Are you interested? I said no. I want to I want to continue with coaching. Hang up the phone. My wife's looking at me. She gives me the 1,000-mile stare, and so we have a conversation. And in the car, we're going back and forth about pros and what are the cons. My daughter's in the back listening to the conversation, and then she pauses. She goes, hold up. You said that you're going to spend less time as an administrator than you would as a coach, and you're going to get paid more. What's the problem? And so when the 9-year-old said that, I was like, well, this girl's got a good point. The girls are getting older, and administration takes up a lot of your time, but so does coaching. It's a little bit more flexible to where there's some days I got to see my kid at a school event, and it offers me a little flexibility. And then that was what kind of initially gave me the push to say, okay, this is doing. And then once I got into it, man, I enjoy getting to know different, and I got to see like the school as a whole, much bigger than just sports, athletics, and what's happening in a U.S. history classroom. And those have been the biggest changes, and I've really enjoyed it.
Perfect. Awesome. And you know what? I just drove to El Paso this last Thursday, came back last night, and it was twofold, a personal thing with the family, but also I like giving thanks to the people that opened the doors for me. So I met up with everybody. The lady that pushed me, is Millie Williams, to become an administrator. Hey, Danny, I went to go see Millie. The she's been around. I think she told me she's turning 81, and she's a substitute administrator. And the thing is, I'm not here doing this without her. So it's very important that that we get the little chirp by somebody, that we are always thankful and don't forget those people. And that's the bad thing about our field. And I highly encourage future administrators to don't remember who opened the door for you. It's so crucial that you don't forget those people that opened the doors for you, especially to the chair. And though it might be like a cactus that you sit on most of the times being in the chair, but you know what? Ultimately, those individuals were the ones that helped you get to the next level. And we can't forget that. And that's why I'm bummed. Just so you know, America, my phone is crushed. I have all my pictures in here, so I'm a little bit depressed. But I know, Danny. Look at that. All the pictures are destroyed with Millie. But you know what? Hopefully the cloud is working. Dr. Moreno, take it away. The next one.
Oh my goodness. We have so many people and so many types of people out there in the audience. You have teachers, you have experienced teachers, you have veteran principals, assistant principals. I want to know this. Can you tell everybody out there just one challenge that you see currently in your role right now as an AP? What is that challenge, and how can you support that new assistant principal with this challenge, okay, that you face? It doesn't matter what it is. Just kind of think about what do you have to deal with day to day, because I promise you, if you have to deal with it, other administrators out there are dealing with it too. So what's an advice that you can give them? I'm going to start off with Dr. Garcia.
So this job isn't easy. It can take an emotional toll on you, especially depending on the kids that you work with. I work with a lot of kids that go through a lot of problems. There's a couple times a week, we're getting to handle with care emails from something that happened in our students, some sort of experience that they had in their real life. And it can be traumatic to sometimes. And we as educators in general, not just administrators, as teachers, we don't realize sometimes that we carry what's called trauma-related stress. And that kind of builds on you. It starts to get heavy on you. One of the things that I kind of had to come to grips with was that you can't save them all. Doesn't mean you stop trying, but you can't save them all. All you got to do is just put your best foot forward all the time and hope that that's enough to help that kid get along across the finish line, and just keep pushing. That's all. That's all I can say. Keep pushing. It's hard. You have to take the weight off your shoulders sometimes, and always reflect on what's going on a daily basis.
Dr. Garcia, you coined something for me, trauma-related stress, because I tell people you have to unplug yourself. Every day you have to unplug yourself because you have to go back to work the next day. But I didn't know how to coin that. Like, how do you say that? It's trauma-related stress. That's what we feel. And that's so true. So thank you. And then the other thing you said, oh my God, I was like, I got chills. You said handle with care. I used to say on the radio, and I used to have my radio up here like this on my shoulder. And I would say to my staff, we have, we would say Johnny is HWC today. And people would say HWC, other kids would hear me say that, but HWC was handle with care. Like, this child was not having a good day. And so we didn't want to kind of trigger him by saying, tuck in your shirt, or where is your ID? Some silly like that to kind of throw him off, right? So thank you for saying that. It just really kind of gave me, this kind of took me back to a really happy place for me.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, like when I was a teacher, I had no clue some of that stuff was happening. Nobody ever sent me an email or communicated that stuff. So once I started seeing this pile on, I started talking to the admin, and we always told the counselors and the other admin knew. but not all the rest of the staff. So we started sending emails. We created an email template that goes out now to all the staff who might interact with this student, and now says this student went through an ACE. Please take care with how you address this child. Don't ask any questions. If you feel the child needs some sort of assistance, this is what you do. And I think that's helped a lot, because now teachers are able to, it's not them just guessing that something happened to Johnny, especially if the school knows, they should know, right?
Yeah. Dr. Garcia, I know what ACE is, but can you tell everybody out there what is ACE? Just what it means. Just what does ACE mean?
So I'm blanking out on what the letters means. So I can't tell you off the top of my head, but essentially is
it's adverse
child experience. Yes.
There you go.
Adverse childhood experience. See?
And there those we figured it out.
So when a child goes through an adverse childhood experience, something happened in the home, whether it was a fire, maybe a parent got arrested, the cops just came by for a specific reason, all those kinds of things are part of that. I encourage everybody to look that up if you don't know what it is.
Hey, Doc, I didn't know. Don't worry about it, brother. I'm 32 years in. I forgot about that. And I know it's when a kid's in trouble. Hey, don't worry about it, brother. It happens. Go ahead, Dr. Moreno.
Sahar, can you tell me kind of something out there that you can share with an AP out there?
Well, I'd say Dr. Garcia gave a lot of great examples, so it's going to be really hard to think. Just mostly like taking care of the children is going to be the biggest, one of the biggest concerns is like the daily needs that kids have, because they come from different backgrounds and they're dealing with a lot of different things that they don't know quite how to process yet. And then the second is just taking care of your staff in that same light. Because I think something that I struggle with daily is the balance of being able to first take care of my staff so that they can take care of my kids, and then also myself. Like a lot of times you're like taking on the stress of all these different, groups of people, and all of their issues to them are most pressing to them. Yeah. So I want to be like aware of what they're going through and help them navigate that however best I can. But just making sure that I'm like pouring into myself so that I can then give to like my staff, and then that way that can trickle down to my kids. But on the daily, like it's hard to figure out how to do that. And I think that's something that took me the longest, because I would just put myself in the back burner, and then here I am handling the staff and then the kids. But just knowing that, you do have to make sure that you take the time and be a reflective practitioner, because every day is going to be there's going to be so much different challenges from each of, the groups of people that you serve. But, and it's going to look different for each campus, but making sure that, you're taking care of the staff as well, because I think after my first year, that was something that I realized like I didn't do the best at, was making sure I'm also looking into my adults and making sure that their needs are met.
Yeah, APs have a hard job because you have to juggle a lot of things, right? I mean, I know we talked about students. Now we're talking about staff. I'm sure there's parents, there's community, and then there's all the other things that get piled on, like, fire drills and reports and, POCs and, supporting teachers. It's a lot to juggle. So we'll talk about time management and in just a little bit. Daniel, what do you have? What advice do you have out there for an AP out there that's starting off, and what kind of struggles do you see they're going to face?
So those are two excellent points that were mentioned before. The first one about, the students and things they go through, the experiences they go through in their life. Something that I see, unfortunately, on a daily basis is with the availability of THC, these vape pens and all that. We're seeing a lot of kids that are addicted to these pens, and they say they need them to function, and it goes into different facets of social motion and all that. But it's sad that we see these students getting in trouble, and not only that, but getting in trouble. They're felonies that they're getting on their record. Yeah, and that's something that we have to, I think, as educators, take a look at, because it's something that's not going away. it's something that was different when we grew up. It was different than it is now. The other thing about taking care of your faculty, that's another great point. Taking care of yourself as well, exercising, disconnecting, doing something to get away from it. Because as administrators, we see the good, the bad, and the ugly,
Yeah.
And, also when you deal with teachers, with your faculty, before I get too upset, I always remember that somebody's mom, someone's aunt, someone's uncle, someone's dad that you're dealing with, it's their livelihood. So make sure that before you become too critical of the situation, make sure you reflect as to what you have done to support that individual so they can be successful. Because sometimes we kind of, not on purpose, but we're so busy that it's like we need this done or that done, and we got to remember that there's that human element and we got to connect with them. Just the way you build a relationship with the student, you got to build that relationship with that faculty member, because what you do is going to affect their livelihood at some point.
Absolutely. You could bring up some great points. And so, yeah, we gotta make sure we build those relationships. Michael.
So advice I'd give to a first year AP is probably to be great at the things that happen a lot. And so being true to what's going on in your student code of conduct, your grading policy, and then referencing those two, because that's what you're going to be dealing with. When somebody calls, they're going to want to know about grades, or they're going to want to know about how you deal with a specific disciplinary issue, and you want to make sure that you're in alignment with what the student code of conduct says. And then the last piece that I would give them, I think that we prepare for all the negative, but also preparing for the positive stuff. So there's going to be some great things that are going on with your students. So what is your plan to recognize those students, to acknowledge that they're doing well, to extend your plan to recognize your teachers? And then is it calendared in? Is it into your weekly schedule so that you can, I need to write a thank you note on this big day. I know Tovad is real good about right now thank you notes, putting them out. And so it's a simple thing that every day, if you can write one, you're a sticky note, but just planning for those times that you're going to recognize your teachers, and then saying you've done a good job. This is all you doing. And then the same thing with parents is, how are you reaching out, acknowledging the work that their kids are doing within the campus, within the community, and this would be the last piece that I would give them.
I think it's important to do both, right? We have to call parents for, the bad stuff, but we have to also recognize the good stuff, because we don't do that as often, right? And I know, just reflecting on my past, when I would call and pick up the phone and tell a parent, hey, I want to call you, and they're the first thing, what did he do now, right? And it's like, no, I was actually calling because he actually did a great thing today, and I just wanted to make sure that you were aware. And moms and dads don't, I throw them off when I did that, right? And so we got to do both. So I'm really happy that Josh does that he sends thank you cards, not only to the faculty, but to students, and birthday cards. He does lots of celebratory stuff. And so, you know what? We have to kind of look out and see what he does, because it really has changed. His culture is amazing at your school, right, Josh?
Right. Plus $5. Everyone gets $5 every day. Hey, everybody. Hey, Melissa Jones Chunu from Tulsa, Oklahoma in the house. Thank you for being here today. Real quick, I know that this is universal. Every ISD, that's in Texas, but every district, New Jersey, Virginia, South Dakota, we all have, air quotes, plans to support our new team members. And we all know that a lot of our new team members are alt-cert, like some of you. But right now, the mass majority are waiting for that. And they have to get their certification, their ESL certification, everything per state. Mm-hmm. So what's one item? And could you imagine this, guys? We already went through 50 minutes. Just like that. Looks like a blink of an eye. Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you're in a good conversation. Hey, thanks, Sean Hurd. Appreciate you. What is one thing you're doing at your campus to help out brand new teachers? We always knew, all of us, what did they do? Here are your keys. Here's your green grade book back in the Stone Age, all right? Back in the Stone Age. Here's your green grade book. Here is your chalk. And some of us evolved into the little transparency on the overhead. Some of you guys have no idea what I just said, but go do it. Go win. Go conquer. What are you doing right now, Michael? What are you doing at your campus to help out brand new teachers? Just one thing, and if one thing, everybody does one thing, then that new assistant principal in Bismarck can steal from you. Go, Michael. What's one thing you're doing to help?
So I want to shout out our campus. They put together before the thing is just an ebook. I'm sure a lot of people are automatically do it, but it has like everything that you can think of with information about the campus, and it's like just a click of a button. Like, this is how we do this, and all the procedures are kind of in one place. So if they get lost, they can always go to that one spot. But I think the biggest impact that I'm specific in is checking in with those teachers every single day, and so just have a fly-by 5-minute conversation. I see them in the hall. I stop. What's going on? How are things going? What are you planning on working on today? What is your plan? And so just upon what they answer, they answer in the question, then it starts a small conversation. Do you need any assistance? Do you need any support? But if we're doing this daily to where they've had the conversation with you, I think it's more likely to come by. Can you help me? Yeah, I got your back. And if you see it already, you can build in the next day. Well, this is how we're going to support this teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And then work. So everybody's assigned that one buddy that they check in. We just having that connection and knowing who it is so that they can be plugged in, a resource immediately if needed.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Sahar, from the big ones to the little ones, talk to us.
I think the biggest impact would be in building first the relationship with the teacher. And on our campus, yes, we've had like mentors assigned to people. Myself, I think that just between the relationships that I've built with certain teachers, I've asked them if they were comfortable with me modeling a lesson and co-teaching with them, because it's been like the first couple of weeks of school. Even just getting the teacher to see just like that I'm willing to jump in and it's okay to make mistakes and I'm doing the work with them. It really has built trust and respect mutually. And they've kind of gotten, just to see from me what I would do, and then we debrief, and also taking them to eventually go see other people. So really hands-on work. That way they can see that you're willing to do it with them.
Love it. Let's go up to New Jersey. What's going on in New Jersey?
So I want to shout out one of our teachers. Her name is Miss Resnick at Passaic High School. She runs a new teacher academy that's super supportive to our new teachers. It's every Wednesday mornings. They meet, and it's like one of those no admin allowed type situations. So they get to go in there, they get to talk. Veteran teachers will come, and they'll learn new things, and they take turns sharing, doing PDs and stuff like that. I think that's been very helpful. But one of the things I personally do is I try to not wait for them to come to my office. I try to go to their classroom, go to their space, helps them feel a little bit more comfortable to make that connection and be like, hey, how you doing? There's that movie, that TV show where he goes, how can I help? I try to say that. So as much as I can, go to them, how can I help? And see what comes from there. Make them feel comfortable enough to come and tell you stuff without you having to wait in your office for them to come.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you know what? A different look at kids in an alternative setting. And those of you, let's make sure we understand each other, because our profession is full of nonsense and alphabets. So the alphabets in Texas are way different than in New Jersey, all right?
Yeah.
So let's make sure. Danny works in an alternative campus, as you heard by his answer earlier. Our kids that are sent by fights, drugs, felonies, off campus, whatever it might be. This is his customer at that campus, because I know that we use that semantical words different in different states, different ISDs. So Danny, how do you prepare for that type of environment that's not a traditional campus? Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Qué bárbaro, Daniel.
Qué malo.
Daniel. One more try, Daniel.
No.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to you on that one, right? So what you do for new teachers, come back. We'll come back to that. Mari, next question.
So this is going to be a really fast question because it really, and I'm going to open it to anyone on this panel today, because we either do it great or we don't do a really good job about it. And that is our in-school suspension, right? And so does anybody have a really good story about how you utilize your in-school suspension? And I'm just going to let anyone just popcorn out real quick. Because that's a hard one. In school suspension, you either do it great or you don't do it very well. We just kind of put kids in there. Nobody. Come on, Dr. Garcia, come on now. Or come on, Michael.
So I'll go, and I'll admit for a while we have not done in-school suspension really good. It became the place where kids go while we waited to deal with the problems that got them there. But as recently, last year, particularly, I think we did very well, is that we started to use that time to get down to what actually happened. We started doing some restorative things. It's not led by me. One of our other assistant principals leads the restorative. So they have a team that they're working on. They do circles and all those kinds of things. That is something that was kind of like a beta test, because we knew we weren't doing good with it. We wanted the kids to get back in the classroom. We needed to get them out of in-school suspension. And a lot of the times it's the same kids that are going back. So let's deal with the situation. Let's figure out what's wrong and fix it. So I think the year before we started to do it, and then last year we did it really well. This year will be at a grander scale. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I will say that our suspensions have gone down because we also stopped using it as a weapon. We stopped weaponizing it because we do realize the more that the kid is out of the class, the worse it's just going to get. It's not going to get better.
And you know what, Doc? I'm glad that you said that. And I think we need to put it out there. Look, guys, it's okay. If we have an error as educators, as administrators, we need to find solutions for it. And then we don't want to be that white dog chasing our tail, doing the same thing. What's the definition of an insanity? And so, as administrators, episode number 2 was Jonathan Cransford, who has created a beautiful ISS system. I'm not promoting his product, which he has one, but I'm promoting someone that has created a great ISS environment. And maybe you didn't know about it in New Jersey. Now maybe you could reach out to him. That's the purpose of this podcast. Because you know what? We are not doing an effective job with discipline. And we've known that for years. What are we doing to stop recidivists? Because the recidivists go to Danny. They go to alternative. And it's okay. Obviously, you don't want to say, hey, my school, I'm not good at that. I got you. Trust me. I understand that. But that's the purpose of this show. The purpose of the Fantastic Four, that when we have a rock in our shoe, that we help somebody take that rock out with the knowledge that's brought. So thank you very much, Doc, for sharing that stuff. Because
thank
you know
you.
What? For a fact,
can you guys hear me now?
You're not alone. You're not alone, brother. Yes, Danny. Tell us,
All
Danny.
right.
And then after that, Danny, also tell us, ask your question, Mari.
No, I just wanted to, and that's why I kind of brought it out for everybody, right? Because I know some people struggle with ISS. And so, Dr. Garcia, thank you so much for sharing that you tried something and it's actually working, and you're gonna scale it. But you're right, Josh, that we have to this is how we learn. So Daniel, you work at an alternative campus at the DAEP is what we call it here in Texas, right? So talk to us a little bit about how, we can do better so that they don't end up at your campus.
Well, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So I want to send a shout out to our district, because they're doing a good job now of coming together. The middle schools and the high schools, and they have like a first-time offenders program, if you will. They call it different things on different campuses before they send kids to the DAEP. So they mitigate the situations before they even think about sending them. So those kids have a chance to fix their behavior. So it's not as much of a punitive, but it's more restorative. And they work with them. They have the social workers that work with them. We have the counselors in school. When we do get them at the DAEP, I have the luxury of it's a smaller population there. So the kids come in for 9 to 18 weeks at a time. But when we do have ISS at the DAP, we have our teachers get coverage, and they go in there and they serve the kids on a daily basis, so they don't miss out on that instruction. Also, if they're receiving services for special education, ESL, we make sure that they get served while they're in the ISS. But that's kind of unique to us because we're a little bit smaller. But to answer your question, I mean, that's something that the schools are trying, and it's working because we don't see kids going to us to the DAP right away, and those campuses are keeping them on campus, which is the best place for them to be, on their home campus in the classroom.
Hey, Danny, could you answer my question? What do you guys do to brand new team members that you guys hire?
For the new team members, I check in with them. I go in with them like somebody else had mentioned, to their classroom and ask them what they need, what kind of support they need. We also have dedicated time when we meet with them on a weekly basis. Our principal meets with them and sits down and talks to them. But it goes down to, Josh, really, it's building that relationship with that teacher, with that individual. Because once you build that relationship with that teacher, and you can go in there, you can have a conversation with them. It's not admin teacher. It's just like a conversation we're having right now. What's best practice? What can I do to support you? What kind of PD do you need? And once you get that relationship built, and you have that level of comfort, you start seeing those strides that are made. Because let's be honest, a new teacher is, I'm talking to the admin, am I in trouble? And it's not about that. It's about being a community of learners.
Yeah. Awesome. Michael, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to jump in and kind of reiterate. So again, I want to say, like, we don't got ISS figured out to the best of our ability, but the things that I found that have worked is kind of alluding to what you say, is if our teachers go in there and they spend the 10 minutes to 15 minutes during that time in their conference to go over, this is what you're learning. That's powerful for our kids, especially if that had been a classroom where they've been having issues with, and then the relationship and the connection starts to change. And so that's the first thing. If your teachers can start going in there, and I don't burden them, but if they have the time, they jump in there, they say, this is what, and then that gives us kind of feedback to see, okay, well, the student actually did well on this. Maybe he needs more individual group time. Maybe we need to push for special ed scale or 504. And so that kind of gives us a little into the student. And the second thing, if I put the student in ISS, well, then at some point throughout the day, we're going to have a conversation. And the conversation is mostly about what happened, like what could we do differently, what were the trend, so that they start working through and processing, this is how I felt, this is what I did, this is how I responded. And I found that when I started to do that more often, sometimes those students would leave class and they'd come to my office, and then they'd start talking, I'm feeling this way, this is what's going on. All right, well, come on in here, let's work through it. They kind of get over it. So sometimes I say, okay, we need to get the counselor involved. We'd walk to the counselor. Times they just come in, they talk to me for 5 to 10 minutes, they take a deep and say, all right, I'm ready. Okay, well, let's walk. I'm gonna walk you back to class. I appreciate you. Let the teacher know this is why the student walked out of class. This is why this walked out of class. And then now they're missing fewer amount of instruction. I know that they walked out for that 10, but they're missing less amount of instructional time by doing that strategy. And hopefully, as the year progresses, they start doing that less and less, and they learn to self-regulate. But it's a process. It's a process for sure.
Self-regulation, that's amazing. And that's so powerful, because instead of having them be, like having them outburst in the class or something like that, you're having them come in and having them do that with you, right? Giving them that safe space to be able to talk to you and control themselves before they do something worse. And now they end up in a day or 2 or 3 days in school suspension. And then there they are outside of the classroom again. So I love that. Thank you, Michael, for sharing that.
And I think that's a great tool. And I've been using that for years as an assistant principal and principal. Hey, someone out there in Iowa, trust me, this works. What Michael just told you works. If you got a recidivist, last time you bring him into your office, you say, hey, Josh, bro, next time, shut your mouth, tell teacher X, very nice, stand up, don't slam the books, Don't do your show. Don't do the drama. Don't exit slamming the door. Say, if you want to find me, I'm going to Tovar. Wait outside if I'm not there. Just shut your mouth. Don't tell anybody. Tovar told me to come here. And then you just sit there. We'll talk. Fuse it out. Your recidivist just went one down. I guarantee you works because that's the power of connectivity with that kid. And then at that point, then it becomes that coach on the sideline yelling at the player for dropping the ball. And the kid's going to say, yes, sir, because you build that connection with him and that love. And from that moment on, that kid does not want to disappoint you because you opened that door of leaving the explosion. And he does not want to make you feel bad or doesn't want to make you any less of the relationship. So please use that out there. Trust me, it's a valuable tool. Sahar, do you want to add anything to that?
I think I haven't done a lot of ISS because of my age group, but it's been a lot more restorative things. Mr. Tovar, you just mentioned like something we do is I have like a lunch bunch with the kids that I know that need me the most is building relationships so that they don't want to disappoint me. Like they know, you know, that's going to be not a good conversation. They don't want to have to face it. But a lot of times, we're just teaching our babies how to regulate their minds and how to kind of vocalize how they're feeling. So it's a lot more restorative, which I'm grateful for because I don't think it would be beneficial at this age or, you know, at all to be like getting them out of the classroom a lot. But I don't think that our systems are as strong as they would need to be, especially in discipline in general. I think that's an area where I definitely feel like I struggle in a lot. Is what's an appropriate and a more holistic way of addressing the child's needs, which that's something that I'm like learning more about because I don't think I have it down or I don't have a good system on my campus about either.
And you know, Mari, I'll combine the cell phone and the discipline one, and then you'll do the time management, all right? And just in closing off this one, look, last year our campus is little. When I work with Danny, what do we have? 2,550 kids.
Yes.
So went from 2,550 kids to 350. Last year, we had 2 or 3 fights the whole year. I've got 10-year-olds to 20-year-olds. I've got kids from all over the world that don't know each other. I've got a lot of interesting factors. I only had 2 and 3, and there were 6th graders. 6th graders. 6th graders. But you know what? That's the whole concept of allowing them that structure, the love, just like it was said right now by Melissa, the relationships matter. But we all know that the rock in the shoe is always discipline. Yes? First year teachers, for your assistant principals, whatever it might be. So I'm going to combine this and you guys take it any truth. Sahar, I'm starting off with you because it might be a little bit different as compared to obviously to Danny. Obviously. But you know what? We have people that are APs in elementary as compared to the APs. So what's the best tool that you or best advice you could give to your colleagues, whether it be an assistant principal or a team member in the classroom, to deal with discipline issues and cell phones? I know that we could take 17 billion hours just on cell phones.
Yeah.
And we would never get it off our chest. But what can you give right now that you've used as a tool to assist anybody? Because this is what it's about. You provide a tool, Michael provides a tool, Danny provides a tool, Doc provides a tool in New Jersey. So what can you talk about cell phones and discipline?
Okay. For discipline, I would say that the number one tool is the relationship that you build with the child and the family. And it's about like how far are you going to go to be able to connect with that child? And I don't think there's a better tool than that I have in mind. That's always worked for me. And then for cell phones, we don't have a lot of the issue because the rule that we've established with the kids is to not have it inside campus, like to put it in your backpack. But if I was in upper elementary or if I was in middle school or high school, I would, it's just about the tolerance. Like how would adults, during direct instruction, make sure that it's not out. If you're asked to have it, if you have it out more and it's impeding your learning, then it gets put away in a pocket, like on the wall somewhere, and you can get it later. So,
perfect. Yeah. Thank you. And you know what, Sahar, it's relevant to elementary, the experiences that you have. And someone can connect with that in Florida. Yeah. Now, Danny, yours is another extreme situation, but similar to Sahar. because of the structures that you have in alternative, talk to people about something for discipline. And believe it or not, people try to suspend kids in ISS when they're at DAP. So talk to them about discipline and cell phones.
So for us, there's no cell phones allowed at all. At all. There's no belongings allowed when the kids come in. That's at the DAEP. But when I was at the high school, I did see teachers that would use a cell phone as part of their lessons. When they had, lessons, the kids would log on and they use a cell phone, and they would tell them, after this, we're going to put them away. So they weren't really taking away the cell phone completely. They were making it part of the educational experience, but then they would have to put it away after they did their lesson, their bell ringer, whatever it was. So it's a difficult situation with the cell phone. Like sometimes it's a battle. You're going to die on that hill. But if it's disrupting instruction, obviously you want to take it away. But making it part of the instruction is a route that I've seen that works, and it works well as long as you have that structure in there and you talk to the kids and the parents that we'll use it for instructional purposes, and then we're going to put it away. Because as much as we don't like it, the kids are like attached to that device.
Exactly. Well, what about New Jersey? Talk to us.
So when it comes to discipline, it's just like investing the time into figuring out what actually is the reason behind the discipline. And sometimes people don't want to take that time because you're bogged down by so much stuff. But sometimes taking that extra time saves you a lot of time later on.
Yeah.
Having that conversation with that student as to what got to that point can help you avoid that later on, because you better understand the student by getting to that underlying thing, right? And then when it comes to cell phones, it really, we leave up to the teacher kind of how they manage cell phones. We support whatever they do. A lot of teachers integrate it into the lesson. Sometimes you have to really look at why the kid is using a cell phone. Are they not engaged in the class and the lesson that you're presenting? Sometimes we have to take that inner look. I remember when I was a teacher, one of the ways I got the kids to not use cell phone in my class is I had a charger at the end of the room. So the kids would plug in their charger, because the kid who uses the most needs to charge it. So he would have it hit his phone all the way across the room. So he would never use it during my class, because when they come to my class, it's dead. So, and that's one of the ways. So you find the way that's creative. And but really, to me, we're combating one of the most difficult things right now with cell phones. And it comes down to, what is a cell phone giving the student that we're not? And the cell phone's giving them attention, it's engaging them, it's giving them feedback instantly. Like, right, they're putting up a video and they're getting likes and comments. That's feedback. So are we doing that in our classroom to combat that? So it really is difficult to say there's any one solution to this big problem. Handle it the way you can. We as administrators need to support that at the best we can.
Beautiful. Thank you. Michael, high school in Texas. Oh, Lord. Talk to us.
All right. So I know that the theme's been relationships matter, but I want to start off with, it's important to have positive conversations before the discipline starts. And so if you are every day, like, trying to have conversations with students, and you've had 5, 6, 7, 8, you've dapped them up, you've high-fived them, you've had, what's up, how's your day going? You've had those conversations. Well, then when it comes time for the discipline conversation, it's a little bit easier. It doesn't change it, but it is just a little bit, it's a little bit more positive conversation, and they are more receptive to what you have to say. And so the other thing is that I want to add with is being positive first, is if I'm at a new campus this year, it's my first year there. And so you kind of have conversations about, okay, well, some of our high profile students, well, as soon as I start noticing, okay, we're slipping into the pattern, well, then let's bring them in. Let's have a conversation about it, instead of going straight to the discipline. Like, okay, you did this. This is your consequence. And you ask those questions as to what's going on. Why are you doing this? What are your plans? How can I support you? From me. And so they know we're in this together. And then at the end of that meeting, you come up with an agreement where you know that they're going to get some small wins, and then you're going to celebrate that small win. Hopefully, like, so when we're leaving here, you're telling me that you're going to be on time to class for 2 periods. and then you check in that 2 periods, you give them a high five, you dab them, and say, man, I'm proud of you. And so they hear something that they got to win. They got to win. And then those small wins start to stack on one another. And then hopefully that equals into longer behavioral change.
That's amazing. Amazing. I love the cell phone charger. Oh my God. I wish I would have thought about that. Because that is so smart. I mean, now they don't have the phone with them, right? Because it's charging in the end of the room. I love it. Love it. Love it. Snaps for you, sir. Before we go to the Echa de Ganas questions, I have one last question because it's important for us to look at time management. We do so much. As APs, we do a lot, right? And so everything from, the day-to-day operations there at the school, but then we have, as you're in high school, I mean, you're doing softball duties and football and all of these other duties. At the elementary, you have lots of night activities like family nights and literacy nights. And so we have a lot of juggling to do. And then we also have a family, right? We all each have our own families. So how do you handle your day-to-day life with all of the things that you have to do? So talk to us about time management. How do you still are able to do everything that you're doing, plus, home life and taking care of yourself? So, Sahar, what do you do?
I guess the easiest thing that I can go to is the calendaring out on Outlook. So I'm pretty attached to that. Like whatever's not calendared in usually doesn't get done. And I had a great mentor that came to our campus, and also in just my professors throughout the years have taught me that prioritizing like your walks, being super detailed and intentional about what you're going to see and when it comes to instruction. And then outside of that, if it's not calendared in, so that way, like your calendar really shows what you prioritize and what you value. And so I think that making sure that I share it with my whole team. So my team knows where I'm at, like 90% of the time, like doing instructional walks or taking care of kids' needs, just making sure that you calendar that, but then also calendar in your personal time and what does that look like? Because what you value needs to be shown up. I mean, you give time to it, and that's the biggest thing that a lot of us value is our time. And so people know that you respect their time, but also you respect your own, and lead by example in that regard. It's not always perfect though. 90% of the time something comes up and you have to move your calendar around, but just the name of education.
Smartwatches are amazing, and this tells me where to go, when to do it. And so I get it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Michael.
So I think me being very routine based, and so I know that when I haven't following the simple route, this is what I'm doing, this is what time I'm waking up, this is what I know that I'm taking care of myself first. And so before I even head to school, I'm set. Not always. I'd like to work out 30 minutes. Sometimes it's only 20, but I'm gonna be sweating it before the morning, so I'm gonna be ready to go. I prioritize myself, and just like Sahar said, like making sure that your calendar is on point. Sunday, I sit with my wife and kind of what do the kids have going on this weekend? These are the events that I have to be at. And then here are some of the events that I'd like to go to. And so making sure that the ones that I'd like to go to don't interfere with the things that are going on with my family. And so that's one thing that has helped a lot is the no after school emails, like after clock. I'm not sending email to staff. I'm not sending email to staff on weekends either. And so those boundaries that I put for them also help me, because if it wasn't important enough for me to do it during the day, then it's not important enough for me to at 5:30, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. It can wait till. And so those couple of things kind of have helped me set boundaries for myself.
Awesome. Daniel?
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. So, having the calendar in order is super important. Make sure that you prioritize that. Also, like was mentioned before, having those personal events also in that calendar. Start your meetings on time. Respect people's time. End the meetings on time. If it's a meeting at 3:00, make sure it starts at 3:00. It ends at 4. It ends at 4.
Mhm.
And just I'm gonna say this out of personal experience. My girls, I have 3 girls, and they grew up at the high school. They were at the events, so making them part of the events that you have to be there as far as duty and stuff. They were there, and they were in the basketball game.
Now we can't hear you. Algo pasó.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So my girls were there at the events at the high school, and I had to work them, so they actually became part of the events. You know, they were
No, no more. Se acabó. Se
Uh,
acabó la pila,
how,
Daniel.
how about now? How about now?
I got it.
You got it?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, like I was saying, my girls were part of the school events. They were there at the games because they had to be there because they wanted to see dads. You know, they had to be there. So Josh was a principal there. They actually got to know Josh, and they actually like Josh. So yeah, it's just you have to find that balance. But like what they said earlier, make sure that your time is in there as well because if it
Yeah.
wasn't important, like we said during the day, make sure you prioritize it if it is important. But that's important and share that with your colleagues. That way they know what you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniel. And then we'll end it off with Dr. Garcia.
So for me, it's a couple things, and I'll try to keep it short. But the first thing is having a sense of urgency, understanding what is your main purpose there. So my main purpose is improving student outcomes. So what is going to lead to that? Those are the things that need to take priority. The things that don't, there's always going to be small fires that pop up. You can't put all the fires out. It's not possible. The other thing is to delegate, right? I love that the school that I work in, because there's so many people who are willing to help. Allow them to help. Allow the people who want to help to help. And the people who don't, figure out why not. Because sometimes it's just they don't know how to contribute, and they need to know. Maybe they need to be included. The last thing is having protected time. That's something that I struggled with up until last year. I had the most teachers that I oversaw out of all the APs because I oversaw math and science. So it was difficult to be able to help them and do what I needed to do. So I started putting protected time. This hour, I need to sit down and write observations. This hour, I needed to go into the classroom. Whatever it is, sit down and do in a protected time. And I started kind of doing that in my own personal life too. Like this hour, I'm going to sit down with my kids and just find out what's going on with them, seeing how they are. I'm going to sit down for an hour and do Lego, whatever it is. Having that protected time, writing it out and saying, this is what I'm going to do, and trying your very best to stick to that.
So thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing.
Awesome. And this is how we're going to close. Lightning round, guys. All right. I don't want a dissertation. I don't want you to be reading from your thesis. I don't want nothing. I want quick con el corazón. Because you know what? Tomorrow's Monday and they're coming, whether you want to or not. So how are you going to inspire somebody out there? And what do? That's why it's called exactly ganas in our culture. Ganas is a spiritual word que usamos nosotros as Hispanics. We motivate you. It's a generational word that there is no equal around the world. And that's when we say, échale ganas, mijo. When you hear abuelita tell that to their grandchild, you should smile because you know what? That came from her abuelita. It's just a generational thing. So right now, you guys, quiero que le echen ganas right now when I ask you these questions. So here we go. Michael, give advice to either a new teacher or an administrator.
So be great. Again, be great at the things that happen a lot, but I've already said that. So I'm going to say, find your happy place. There's going to be some tough moments. So where do you go on campus, or who can you go talk to? Where's your happy place to get you back to center and then being ready to impact students?
Beautiful. Read a note, an email, or a text from a student or teacher or a colleague that inspired you.
So I got this. I got a brag bag, but it's at work. So this one was on my, and it's from a student, foreign exchange student. I'm an incredible opportunity to study at Veterans Memorial High School as an exchange student. My experience has been truly transformative, and I'm forever grateful for your support, kindness, and guidance. to adapt to a new environment, to face an academic challenges. I was constantly reassured and understanding. I'm also grateful for the friendships I formed during my time here. From study sessions with classmates to bonding over shared interests, I felt like I was part of a community that truly cared about each other. As I prepare to leave here, I want to thank you for making me feel like I belonged. Your warmth, kindness, and generosity have made a lasting impact on my life, and I always cherish the memories I made here. Thank you again for an unforgettable experience. I hope that one day I will return to San Antonio and visit Veterans Memorial High School once more.
Eso, así me gusta. Send some flowers to someone that inspires you. Who, Michael?
My wife, another ESL teacher, so I get to come home and off of her. She makes me feel, and sometimes she makes me feel this small because I share it with her. She solves it in the snap of a finger. Say good talk, and I that the whole time.
Who should people? One person they should follow on social media.
I'm gonna go with if you're not following two principals, I like them helping to kind of take care of self.
Perfect. So one song that embodies you, Michael. Una canción, nomás una, that embodies your essence as an educator, as a person.
It's because I have so many facets, but I'm
no, you're an administrator. Make a decision.
This is me from the Greatest Showman soundtrack. Good.
All right. Your favorite quote?
I'm gonna go biblical. For God did not give me a speed, but that of power, of love, and of discipline. It's a reminder for me daily.
Amen, hermano. Amen. How can people contact you?
So you follow me on. You're not as active on Instagram, more active on X at @mig_gonzo.
All right, Dr. Garcia, listo. Ahí vamos. Give advice to either teacher or an administrator.
So be the person that you wanted or needed when you were that student or teacher. And that means being seen, being heard, and everything in between, being loved.
Love it. Read an email, a note, or a text from a student, teacher, or colleague that inspired you.
So a student I haven't taught in years recently emailed me because she just finished high school. She wanted a letter recommendation. And she says, I wanted a teacher who always motivated me and always made me feel happy to come to school. And you came to mind. Also because you taught me during with remote, which was my darkest time, like for real.
Love it. Send some flowers to someone who inspires you. Why do they inspire you?
So the teachers and staff at Passaic High School where I work, because every day they come to work and we deal with a lot of difficult situations, and they keep pushing, they keep fighting, and they pour their heart out in their work.
Love it. One person people should follow on social media.
Definitely the Jefe, Principal Kafele, only because he links you with so many people. There's not one person you can find somebody from him for everything.
One song that embodies you as a person.
Evidence by Elevation Worship.
All right. What's your favorite quote?
Brene Brown, vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome.
How can people contact you?
Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm all over social media. It's either Dr. Garcia EDU or Dr. Garcia _EDU. Yeah. Feel free to message me.
Sahar, here we go. Give advice to the new teacher or administrator.
I'd say that trust your instincts and be there. Just show up for the people around you. Do the best that you can every single day.
Love it. Read an email, a note, or a text from a student, teacher, or colleague that inspires you.
Okay, so I have a note from a former teacher. So it says, thank you, Miss Augustine, for an incredible year at McShan. I am eternally grateful for all of the time and help that you've given me. You've helped me to find my voice in the classroom, and I'm eternally grateful for that. I'm so sad that I won't be working with you, but I know that you will do amazing things at your new campus. And that was from a former teacher.
Love it. Send some flowers to a current person that inspires you. Why do they inspire you?
My new principal, she inspires me every day because she's taken on our campus with so much grace, and she's excellent at what she does. So I'm learning all the things that I need to, pick up on in areas that I need to grow in from her.
Who should they follow on social media? One person.
My gosh. They already said this, but Principal Cathele, he helped me a lot, like with the series that he has and on YouTube for becoming a better administrator.
One song that embodies you as a person, as an educator. What song?
The Goodness of God. I think that embodies a lot of like my why, the reason why I'm here, and the work that I do.
What is your favorite quote?
My quote is a scripture, but it's Colossians 3:23, and it talks about whatever you do, do it with all your heart, as if you're working unto the Lord and not for men.
All right. How can people reach out and contact you?
Through here on Twitter at Miss Augustine.
All right. And before I ask Danny, I know this was uncomfortable, but thank you, bro. I appreciate that. From one caveman to another caveman. I appreciate you breaking out of your shell. Thank you for your friendship. Here we go. Advice to a new teacher or administrator.
Don't take the path of least resistance. Take on something new and learn how to do something that you're uncomfortable with. It'll make you better.
Yes, so read an email, a note, a text from a student, teacher, colleague that inspired you.
A student left me a message on my desk that just said, very simple, thank you for listening and thank you for believing in me.
Yes, so send some flowers to someone who inspired you. Why?
I'm going to send those flowers to my principal, Dr. Henches, because every day when I go to work, she keeps it real. She doesn't fake the funk.
Attaboy. Someone they should follow on social media. Try your best, bro.
That's Josh Tovar. That's what I'm going to say. The man himself, because Josh, like you said, it's something that I'm doing that's outside of my box right now. But I know that, following you, they'll have connections to more individuals, more professionals around the United States, around the world, and it's gonna only make them better if they participate in these podcasts and the discussions that we're having.
So one song, Danny, one song, bro. I'm
gonna go with Tom Petty. I won't back down, because there's certain things in education that are great for kids and for teachers, and I won't give you an inch.
Your favorite quote?
Kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Danny, last question. I don't know. I don't know if smoke signals get to El Paso, but how can people get a hold of you, bro?
Instagram, WarhawkDad99. So I do have social media, Josh.
All right, and that is our very first assistant principal roundtable. Thank you, everybody, for being here. To hold on, don't hang up yet. Coming up episodes, we've got Kevin Curtis, Restorative Circles. Very important. You guys need to see that to help you with your ISS. He's from Texas, a great program. Went out to see him last year. Well, then we also have the principal roundtable number 2, and then we have our very first teacher a roundtable from teachers from around the country, right around the corner. And then ending up that month with coaching, different levels of coaching, principal to assistant principal. There's great shows coming up, and we want you. So please make sure that if you picked up anything today, that you like it and share it. If you want to be part of the show, reach out. I'm on all the platforms. Dr. Moreno, I'm trying to get her on board. She don't follow social media. I'm trying to pull those teeth of hers. But reach out to her or to me. You want to be part of the show, we'll get you on there. There's tons of things coming up that you can bring that talent, that you can bring that inspiration, that you can bring that knowledge that we need. Because you know what? We're not in it alone. Because all these kids are moving around. They're going to New Jersey. They're going to Texas, to Bismarck, all over. And you know what? If you want to go to Africa, go with this lady. If you want to reach out and be one of those educators, because she's taking educators, if you're interested in doing that kind of scholarship in Africa, reach out to Dr. Moreno. She's talked about it in our past shows. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you got to see that. So hurry up.
Real quick, Instagram. You go to Instagram at Newcomer Success. There's a lot of information about my Africa trip. And then the other thing, Josh, I just want to make sure that if there's a topic out there that we haven't thought of and you want us to address it, please tell us about topics as well. So if you want to be able to be on the podcast and, talk to us, reach out to us. But more specifically, if there is something out there that you want us to address, give us some time. We can definitely put something together so that we can make sure that we are addressing your needs as well.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Like and share it. We'll see you next week for the PGP podcast. Gracias.